The Iroquois County Co-op Grain elevator at the Roberts loadout collapsed at 4:14 p.m. on Wednesday, October 16, 2024. The west wall of the main 240,000-bushel concrete stave bin gave way under the pressure of 184,000 bushels of wet 18% moisture corn that had been loaded too fast across the previous 72 hours of harvest. 2 grain trucks at the loadout were caught in the spill. Both drivers walked away. No one was hurt. By 5:30 p.m., the OSHA notice had gone up. By 7 p.m., the elevator was closed indefinitely. By 8:42 p.m. Wednesday evening, 184 farms across Roberts, Buckley, and Onarga had no working elevator within 28 miles. The Watseka elevator was 32 miles east. The Onarga elevator was 24 miles south, but already at capacity. The next closest open loadout was Stern Equipment's grain desk in Champaign, 38 miles southwest, and even Stern's truck queue was 3 hours deep by Thursday morning. If this kind of story matters to you, the kind where neighbors don't wait for permission to fix the thing that broke, we'd be honored if you subscribed. Howard Kendrick stood at his kitchen window at 5:14 a.m. Thursday morning, October 17, 2024, watching headlights line up on Route 49. Every grain truck in 3 counties trying to find a place to dump corn before the week's forecasted rain hit Saturday afternoon. Bernice handed him a fresh cup of black coffee. Howard, Cassidy Tufts called the kitchen line at 4:42 a.m., Bernice said. Bernice, what did Cassidy say? Howard asked. Cassidy said the bin's a total loss. The state inspector is on site at 8 a.m. The co-op insurance won't cover a temporary alternative. Cassidy said the loadout structure on the rail spur is intact. Only the storage bin failed. If somebody could build a temporary drive-over ramp into the rail loadout, trucks could dump directly into the rail cars. Bernice, a drive-over ramp. Cassidy said the ramp would need to be 24 feet wide, 14 feet tall at the dump end, sloped at 12% grade with a gravity pit feeding the rail loadout conveyor. Cassidy said it would normally take a contractor 8 weeks. We don't have 8 weeks. We have 3 days before Saturday's rain. Bernice, I built grain bin loadouts at Caterpillar Decatur from 1984 to 1996. I know the math. Howard, the math. Bernice, the ramp takes 6 men, 3 14-hour days if the materials are on the ground at sunrise Friday. I need oak timbers, steel I-beams, a skid steer, a telehandler, a rough terrain forklift, a welding rig with a generator, and a portable PTO conveyor. I need 6 men plus me with the cross-brand club skills. I've got the call list in my head. Howard, who do you call first? Bernice, I call Earl Braddock first. Earl coordinates the cross-brand club. By 7 a.m., the 7 of us will be on Cassidy's gravel lot with the materials inventoried. By Friday morning, we're framing. By Saturday evening, before the rain, we're loading rail cars. Howard, call Earl. Bernice, I'm calling Earl at 5:42 a.m. If you're still here, subscribe. The numbers in this story are real, and so are the 7 men who showed up. Earl Braddock answered the call at 5:42 a.m. Thursday morning. Howard walked Earl through the Cassidy Tufts conversation, the structural specs of the temporary drive-over ramp, the materials list, and the 6-man crew requirement. Earl listened with both hands flat on his own kitchen table while Ruth refilled his coffee. Howard, 6 men plus you, Earl said. Earl, 6 men plus me. Calvin Stowers brings the Bobcat T870 skid steer and the Genie GTH-1056 telehandler. Marlon Tobler brings the Lull 644E rough terrain forklift. Garth Tilsley brings 80 acres of cured oak timbers off his back lot. Adley Cordes brings the welding rig, generator, and plasma cutter. Rufus Hemmings brings 24-inch steel I-beams from his shop. Wayland Osborne brings the 18-inch grain auger and a portable PTO conveyor. Howard, that's the Cross Brand Club at full strength on a Thursday morning. Earl, that's the Cross Brand Club at full strength. Howard, I'll make 6 calls between 5:48 a.m. and 6:14 a.m. Everyone will be on Cassidy's gravel lot at the Roberts loadout by 7 a.m. with the materials in tow. Earl, the 7 of us at 7 a.m. Howard, Norris Hedgepath at the Illinois Department of Agriculture Bureau of Markets has emergency authorization for temporary loadout structures under State Grain Handling Code. I'll call Norris at 6:30 a.m. He'll be on site by 9 a.m. Thursday with the emergency permit. Earl, Norris signs the permit. We frame Friday. We run rail load Saturday. Howard, that's the schedule. The 7 Cross Brand Club members arrived at the Iroquois County Co-op Grain Roberts loadout gravel lot at 7 a.m. Thursday morning, October 17th, 2024. The collapsed concrete stave bin still leaned at a 14-degree angle against the rail spur loadout structure. 184,000 bushels of wet corn lay in a 320-foot pile across the gravel between the bin and the rail cars. Cassidy Tufts met them in the gravel lot. Howard, the materials list? Cassidy asked. Cassidy, the materials are coming on the 3rd trailer behind Calvin's truck, Howard replied. Garth's oak timbers, Rufus's steel I-beams, Adley's welding rig. Calvin brings the Bobcat T870 and the Genie GTH-1056. Marlon brings the Lull 644E. Wayland brings the 18-inch auger and the PTO conveyor. We'll have everything inventoried by 8:30 a.m. Norris Hedgepath signs the emergency permit at 9 a.m. We start framing at 10 a.m. Howard, the rail cars, Cassidy said. Cassidy, how many rail cars do you have on the spur? Howard asked. Cassidy has 14 covered hopper rail cars on the spur right now, Cassidy replied. Each car holds 3,800 bushels. Total spur capacity 53,200 bushels. The Iroquois County rail line picks up loaded cars Saturday at 7 p.m. and delivers them to the Decatur ADM terminal by Sunday morning. If we can load all 14 cars by Saturday at 5:00 p.m., the corn moves. Otherwise, the corn sits another week. Cassidy, we'll have all 14 cars loaded by Saturday at 5 p.m., Howard answered. Howard, the math holds? Cassidy, the math holds. 14 cars at 3,800 bushels per car, 53,200 bushels total. Average truckload is 1,000 bushels. We need 53 truckloads through the temporary ramp across roughly 14 hours Saturday. That's 4 trucks per hour through the ramp. The ramp throughput is rated at 8 trucks per hour. We're operating at 50% of design capacity. The math holds with margin. Norris Hedgepath pulled the white 2023 Ford F-150 with the state plates into the gravel lot at 8:54 a.m. Thursday, 6 minutes ahead of schedule. He wore the Navy State polo with the seal. He carried a leather portfolio under one arm. He met Howard at the foundation footprint Howard had marked with stakes. Howard, Norris Hedgepath, Illinois Department of Agriculture Bureau of Markets, Norris said. Norris, The temporary drive-over ramp footprint is staked out 24 feet wide by 84 feet long, with a 12% rising grade to a 14-foot dump platform feeding a 4-foot-deep gravity pit, Howard replied. The pit feeds Wayland Osborne's 18-inch portable PTO conveyor, which feeds the existing rail loadout structure. The structural design uses 24-inch steel I-beams as the primary load-bearing skeleton and oak timbers as the deck and rails. The design loads at 80,000 pounds gross vehicle weight at full speed under emergency state grain handling code. Howard, the design specs are sound. Who's the structural engineer of record? Norris. I am. I ran a structural welding crew at Caterpillar Decatur from 1984 to 1996. The state recognizes my Illinois Class B structural credential through January 2026. I've signed the design plans Wayland printed at the Onarga UPS store at 6:42 a.m. this morning. Howard, the credential is current. The design is signed. The emergency permit issues at 9:14 a.m. You can frame at 10 a.m. Norris, that's the schedule, Howard said. Howard, the state will inspect the frame structure at 5 p.m. Friday before any truck dumps load. The inspection takes 90 minutes. If the structure passes, you start truck dumps at 7 p.m. Friday. If it fails, you frame the corrections through Friday night and re-inspect at 6 a.m. Saturday. Norris, the structure will pass at 5 p.m. Friday. Howard, I'll be back at 5 p.m. Friday. The crew assembled in a half circle at the foundation footprint at 9:48 a.m. Thursday morning. Howard had hand-drawn the workstation assignments on a sheet of butcher paper duct taped to the side of Adley's welding rig. Each man had a station, a shift schedule, and a 15-minute coffee break rotation through Bernice's auxiliary kitchen tent. Calvin, you're on the Bobcat T870 first shift through 2 p.m., then on the Genie GTH 1056 from 2 p.m. to sundown, Howard said. Howard, Bobcat first shift, Genie second shift, Calvin replied. Marlin, you're on the Lull 644E forklift across both shifts. The I-beams need to land within a quarter-inch of mark on the foundation. Howard, within a quarter-inch on every beam, Marlin answered. Garth, you supervise the oak timber decking. Lay the 4-inch boards on 18-inch centers across the lower third today, then the upper deck across the dump platform tomorrow morning. Howard, 18-inch centers, lower deck today, upper deck Friday, Garth said. Adley, you run the welding rig and the plasma cutter. Every primary load-bearing weld is mine. Every secondary deck attachment is yours. Howard, primary weld's yours. Secondary attachment's mine, Adley confirmed. Rufus, you cut and place the 24-inch steel I-beams, 6 primary I-beams in the foundation, 4 secondary I-beams in the dump platform frame, 2 cross-bracing I-beams at the gravity pit. Howard, 6 primary, 4 secondary, 2 cross-brace, Rufus said. Wayland, you install the 18-inch portable PTO conveyor at the gravity pit feed. The conveyor belt has to bench test at full load before Norris signs the inspection. Howard, conveyor installed and bench tested by 4 p.m. Friday, Wayland replied. Howard, what about you? Calvin asked. Calvin, I'm on every primary load-bearing weld and every structural inspection between workstations. I'm also the lead engineer of record on the design with Norris. Howard, that's the schedule, Calvin said. The schedule holds, Howard replied. The 7-man crew framed the temporary drive-over ramp from 10 a.m. Thursday morning through 6:14 p.m. Friday evening. 32 hours of structural welding, oak timber decking, gravity pit excavation, and PTO conveyor installation. Calvin Stowers ran the Bobcat T870 skid steer and the Genie GTH-1056 telehandler in alternating shifts. Marlon Tobler ran the Lull 644E rough terrain forklift. Garth Tilsley supervised the oak timber decking. Adley Cordes ran the welding rig and the plasma cutter. Rufus Hemmings cut and placed the 24-inch steel I-beams. Wayland Osborne installed the 18-inch portable PTO conveyor at the gravity pit feed. Howard Kendrick ran the structural welds on every primary load-bearing joint. Norris Hedgepath inspected the frame structure at 5 p.m. Friday evening. The 90-minute inspection completed at 6:24 p.m. Norris signed the operational authorization at 6:28 p.m. Friday evening. Howard, the structure passes, Norris said. Norris, thank you for the inspection, Howard replied. Howard, I've inspected 184 grain handling structures in 18 years on this desk. The 7-man build of the Roberts temporary loadout is the cleanest emergency framing job I've ever signed. The welds are commercial grade. The oak deck is bench tight. The gravity pit grade is exactly 12%. The conveyor feed angle is calibrated. Norris, the 7 of us did the work. Howard, the 7 of you did the work in 32 hours that a contractor would have quoted at 8 weeks and $148,000, Norris said. Norris, the 7 of us did it for the cost of materials, Howard replied. Howard, what's the materials cost? Norris asked. Norris, $14,800 in steel from Rufus's shop, $4,200 in oak from Garth's back lot, $2,400 in welding consumables from Adley's rig, $1,800 in conveyor parts from Wayland's barn, $980 in fuel for the equipment, and $640 in Bernice's fire department auxiliary kitchen meals across Thursday and Friday. Total $24,820. The Cross Brand Club Emergency Fund covers all of it. Owen Stern at Stern Equipment will write the replenishment check by Tuesday. Howard, $24,820 against an $148,000 contractor quote and 8 weeks of farmer storage costs, Norris said. Norris, the math holds the way it always holds when 7 neighbors show up before sunrise, Howard replied. Howard, the math holds, Norris answered. Norris, what does the state do with the inspection write-up? Howard asked. Howard, the state files the inspection report as a precedent emergency build under CFR 1910.272 grain handling provisions, Norris said. Iroquois County becomes the case study for emergency loadout reconstruction across Illinois. The next county whose elevator collapses will reference this build. Norris, that's a fair use of the report, Howard replied. Howard, that's the right use of the report, Norris said. Cassidy Tufts called Howard at 6:42 p.m. Friday evening from the co-op office. Howard, the state permit signed. Trucks start at 7 p.m., Cassidy said. Cassidy, trucks start at 7 p.m., Howard replied. Howard, the co-op's setting the per bushel handling fee at 4 cents through the temporary ramp, Cassidy said. That's 2 cents below our normal rate to cover the inconvenience to producers. The 4 cents covers operational labor and the lease on your equipment. Cassidy, 4 cents per bushel against 53,200 bushels. Saturday is $2,128 in handling revenue. Half goes to the cross-brand club lease at $1,064. Half goes to co-op operational coverage at $1,064. The math works for both sides. Howard, the co-op board agrees. The lease check for the first month is in the mail Monday at $4,200 against the 30-day projection. Cassidy, we'll be ready for trucks at 7 p.m. Howard, every cross-brand club member gets a free sandwich and a coffee at the auxiliary kitchen across the weekend. Bernice already cleared the list with the Roberts VFD. Cassidy, Bernice already cleared the list? Howard replied. Howard, see you at 7 p.m. Cassidy, 7 p.m. Truck dump started at 7 p.m. Friday evening, October 18th, 2024. The first 14 trucks dumped between 7 p.m. Friday and 11:30 p.m. Friday. 14,000 bushels into the gravity pit, conveyed up the 18-inch PTO conveyor, into the rail loadout, into the first 3 covered hopper cars on the spur. The 7-man crew worked the dumps in 2 shifts. Bernice, Kendrick, and the Roberts Volunteer Fire Department Auxiliary ran the kitchen with hot coffee, ham sandwiches, and apple pie all night Friday into Saturday morning. By 5 p.m. Saturday evening, October 19th, 2024, 12 hours before the forecasted rain hit at 5 a.m. Sunday, all 14 covered hopper rail cars on the Iroquois County rail line spur sat loaded with 53,200 bushels of corn ready for the 7 p.m. rail pickup. The Iroquois County rail line freight train picked up the 14 loaded cars at 7:14 p.m. Saturday, 14 minutes behind schedule. The cars rolled into the Decatur ADM terminal at 4:48 a.m. Sunday morning. The corn settled at $4.62 per bushel. Total settlement $245,784, distributed across the 53 farms whose trucks had dumped through the temporary ramp Friday night and Saturday. The Saturday rain arrived at 4:42 a.m. Sunday morning and dropped 2.4 inches across Iroquois County over the next 18 hours. Every bushel was on rails. None sat in a wet pile. Earl drove out to the Roberts loadout on Sunday afternoon, October 20th, 2024, in the silver Chevy Silverado 2500 with Ruth in the passenger seat. The rain had stopped at 10:14 p.m. Sunday morning. The temporary drive-over ramp sat against the rail spur with the empty rail cars gone, and 53,200 bushels of Iroquois County corn already on its way to Decatur. Howard Kendrick met Earl in the gravel lot in the dark tan Carhartt chore coat. Earl wore the olive green John Deere mesh cap, the dark tan Carhartt chore coat over the buffalo check flannel, the Wrangler jeans, and the Red Wing Irish setter boots. His steel blue eyes met Howard's. "Howard, the corn moved," Earl said. "Earl, the corn moved," Howard replied. "Howard, what does the temporary ramp do now?" Earl asked. Earl, Cassidy, and the co-op board met at 8 a.m. Sunday morning, Howard said. The board voted to keep the temporary drive-over ramp operational through the entire 2024 fall harvest while the collapsed bin gets demolished and a new bin gets contracted. The rebuild will take 8 months. The temporary ramp keeps Iroquois County corn moving through the rail spur every day until the new bin opens in June 2025. Howard, the 7 of you built a working loadout in 3 days that runs through June 2025. Earl, The 7 of us built it for $24,820 in materials. Howard, what does the co-op pay? Earl asked. Earl, the co-op board voted Sunday morning to lease the temporary ramp from the Cross Brand Club for $4,200 a month from October 2024 through June 2025, Howard said. 9 months at $4,200 per month is $37,800. After the materials cost of $24,820, the Cross Brand Club Emergency Fund nets $12,980 in profit on the build. Plus, the temporary ramp asset reverts to club ownership when the new bin opens in June 2025. Howard, the Cross Brand Club just turned a 3-day emergency build into a $12,980 net asset, plus the steel I-beams and oak timbers for the next emergency. Earl, the Cross Brand Club just turned a 3-day emergency build into the next decade's emergency loadout for whatever county elevator collapses next. Howard, that's the kind of math 7 men do when they show up before sunrise. Earl, that's the kind of math 7 men do. Earl sat at his own kitchen table Sunday evening at 8 p.m. with Ruth across from him. The white ceramic coffee pot sat between them. Earl, Howard's 7-man crew built a working rail loadout in 3 days, Ruth said. Ruth, Howard's 7-man crew built it for $24,820 against an $148,000 contractor quote, Earl replied. Earl, what would have happened if Howard hadn't called you at 5:42 a.m. Thursday? Ruth asked. Ruth, 184 farms across Roberts, Buckley, and Onarga would have hauled wet corn 38 miles to Stern Equipment's grain desk through Saturday's 3-hour queue, Earl said. Most farms would have piled corn on the ground. The Saturday rain would have hit 184,000 bushels of unprotected corn. The county would have lost an estimated $480,000 in spoiled grain by Sunday afternoon. Cassidy Tufts would have spent the next month explaining to the co-op board why the elevator's emergency protocol failed. Earl, instead, the 7 of you showed up before sunrise Thursday. Ruth, instead, Howard called the Cross Brand Club at 5:42 a.m. Thursday, and the 7 of us were on Cassidy's gravel lot at 7 a.m. with the materials in tow. Earl, the line gets held by the people who show up. Ruth, the line gets held by the people who show up before sunrise on a Thursday morning when the elevator collapsed Wednesday afternoon. Dale Voss came by the Braddock farmstead on a clear Tuesday morning in late October 2024 in his white GMC Yukon. Earl, heard about the 7-man ramp at the Roberts loadout, Dale said. You heard? Earl said. Heard you got a contractor undercut on a 3-day build. Dale, 7 Cross Brand Club members built a working rail loadout in 32 hours for $24,820 in materials, Earl replied. A licensed contractor would have quoted $148,000 in 8 weeks of timeline. The Cross Brand Club Emergency Fund covered the materials. The co-op leases the temporary ramp from the club at $4,200 per month through June 2025. The $12,980 net profit goes back into the emergency fund for the next county that needs us. You make it sound noble. I make it sound right, Dale, Earl said. Howard Kendrick ran a structural welding crew at Caterpillar Decatur from 1984 to 1996. 7 men brought their equipment before sunrise Thursday. Norris Hedgepath signed the emergency permit at 9:14 a.m. The temporary ramp passed state inspection at 6:28 p.m. Friday. The first truck dumped at 7 p.m. Friday. All 14 rail cars rolled out of the Roberts Spur at 7:14 p.m. Saturday. The Sunday rain hit empty gravel. Dale shook his head with a wide, smug, mocking smirk and a dismissive shake of his head and climbed back into the Yukon and drove off without another word. The 1981 John Deere 4640, belonging to Howard Kendrick, sat in the open machine shed of the Kendrick farmstead outside Roberts on the night of October 27, 2024. With $48,400 of original 1981 purchase price still in her dark factory green paint, 12,400 hours on the meter, the temporary drive-over rail loadout ramp running 53,200 bushels a week through the Roberts Spur until the new bin opens in June 2025, and Howard Kendrick's structural welding signature on every primary load-bearing joint of the ramp at the Iroquois County Co-op Grain Roberts loadout. The bin had collapsed Wednesday afternoon. The corn moved Saturday evening. The 7 men showed up before sunrise Thursday.